Welcome to the So Much More podcast, where we talk with people in the custom window treatment, soft home furnishings industry, and so much more. I'm your host, Seal DeGuglielmo. My guest on the podcast is Madison Stauffer. She graduated from Kent State in 2021 with an architecture degree. She decided to combine her sense of design and love of vintage furniture with her fledgling upholstery skills. Enter Ohio Workroom in Canton, Ohio, where she's worked for 3 years. Among her other duties, she helps customers find the perfect fabric for their specific pieces, with considerations given for durability, the furniture's original character, how it will be used, and how a fabric will lay across it. Madison also creates vision boards to help customers visualize fabric combinations and to help them make confident decisions. I really enjoyed getting to know Madison. We also talked about the class that she's going to be offering at the Custom Workroom Conference this coming September. If you're listening to this in real time, the registration for the Custom Workroom Conference will be opening this week, and Madison's is one of the classes that you can take. I really hope you enjoy hearing from Madison today. Madison, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast. It's really nice to meet you and talk with you.
Hi, Seal. I'm very excited to be here and meet with you today. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I'm always excited to hear about newer, younger people in our industry. And I know that you are going to be teaching at CWC for the first time this year. So I want to talk a little bit about that too. But why don't we start with having you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your life, where you live in the world, and we'll get started from there.
Alrighty. Well, my name is Madison Stauffer. I'm 26 years old. I live in Canton, Ohio, and that's where I also work. So I work for an upholstery shop or workroom. We're located in Canton. It's been a family-operated business for over 75 years. We got new ownership about 3 years ago, and now we are known as the Ohio Workroom. So we work with a lot of furniture. Adam also owns Main Street Modern, which is a vintage furniture warehouse. So we're under the same umbrella. And my role there is I basically am kind of the office administrator, but I also get estimates started and I help people hopefully pick out the perfect fabric for their job.
So I'll put a link to the episode that I did with Adam in the show notes.
I listened to
kind of explained about how he got started, which was really fascinating. So how did you get started in this business? What were you upholstering? What brought you there?
So I actually went to Kent State for college, graduated with a bachelor degree in architecture. Did not really plan this for my future, but I've always been really into everything vintage, secondhand. I also kind of grew up with the same background as Adam and like going to flea markets and estate sales and auctions with my dad. So that's always kind of been like a side hobby for me. And in college, I actually worked on campus. We were called the movers, and our job was to basically, like the first half of the summer, we would go through the dorms and kind of check over everything, make sure the lights worked and everything was good for the, students to use. The mattresses were, good and everything. And then one of my specific jobs was to reupholster all of the desk chairs and tack boards that went in the dorms.
Okay.
So they kind of stuck me in this back room and I'd be back there for 8 hours a day, just no guidance or anything. They just said, wrap more fabric around 3 layers of fabric. I already kind of had some knowledge in upholstery and graduated, started actually working for the Restore, the Habitat for Humanity Restore.
Yeah.
started getting really familiar with certain brands of like not only furniture, but like knickknacks and glassware and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I found that to be really interesting. And then I actually saw that Main Street Modern was hiring, and they were hiring as for an upholsterer in their workroom. And I just thought that was super cool. I thought it would be something valuable that I could take away. And just tried it as more of a hobby. So my first 8 months working here, I actually did the upholstery. I was an
Okay.
upholstery apprentice, and I also did deliveries. So I would take all of the furniture back and forth to the clients' homes. So that's kind of how I got started in this business. And then the girl that was working in my role before, she found another opportunity, and she actually came to me and said that she thought that this role would be perfect for me, and I agreed, and I kind of am just here winging it today.
So I'm curious though about, I mean, you're upholstering the desk chairs and you're wrapping more
Mhm.
fabric around more fabric.
Yeah.
You started as an apprentice. Like, did you admit how many layers of fabric were on some of those chairs you
Oh,
would
I
upholster?
did. I did. I was like, this is not the experience I had at Kent State. So there was no breaking down in terms of that. So, and there was really no, I mean, they just kind of stuck me back there and they said, make this look pretty. They didn't really talk about, how you should make the corners look and
Right.
things like that. There were no details involved. So this was definitely a lot different. And I actually got trained in the back, which was really cool. So, yeah.
Okay. So I know that your background at Kent State was in architecture. How much of that have you brought to what you're doing today?
Um, Architecture and upholstery, I feel like go hand in hand. A lot of it, like breaking down the furniture, was like kind of like a puzzle piece, almost like a building.
Mhm.
You get to see the insides and see just like how things actually really work together. And then there's obviously the design aspects of it as well, like color theory. I'm really good at like putting colors together and patterns and pretty tech savvy in a way. I
Mhm.
know how to use the computer, and that's something we've always been an older business. It's been more of like a mom and pop shop, and so I've been just bringing my expertise with a lot of things from school into this business. So.
Yeah. So it's fascinating to me because Adam is younger in terms of some of the long-term businesses, long-term upholstery businesses. And
Mhm.
it's not uncommon for people to have the perception that it's older men mostly.
Yeah.
And he's really done a lot to change the perception of how people look at upholstery. I know he works with Chairloom, which is a company that's not too far from me. I'm outside of Philadelphia. I also interviewed the two of them for the podcast.
I listened to
Oh,
that.
and thank you for doing that. I really love what he's done with the idea. It's not just the person down the street who needs a sofa reupholstered. He's created a whole style and a whole niche
Mm,
for the kind of upholstery that you guys do. And
yes.
I love your Instagram account, by the way. There's some
Thank you.
really awesome pieces. But it's, you've had to learn a lot of different things, and you can have a great office person who can sit there and do the invoices or do the ordering or get the work orders together. But you're now delving into the area of fabric, and you are helping clients to pick the fabric that they want. And it's interesting because in your class description for CWC, it mentions like we all want the perfect fabric. And first of all, doesn't exist. We can find what looks great and will wear well, but there
Right.
isn't any one perfect fabric. And sometimes we get so set on that that it's hard to make decisions.
Oh, yes.
So, how is that for you with clients? How do you go about that?
Some clients are different than others. I've had a client that has taken over a year to actually decide on a fabric, and some clients will come in and choose one in less than 20 minutes, and they don't think twice about it. It all just kind of depends. I think how I kind of start things off is a client will come in and either they have a specific color that they're looking for, pattern, texture. They'll give me some background on how they'll use the piece of furniture. So dining room chairs or a sofa that they're going to use every day. That's kind of how I go into deciding what fabrics to present to them. So if they have a family of 5 and 2 dogs that love to get on the sofa, I'm probably going to start showing them some like performance Krypton fabrics, so that's how I kind of get them started. A lot of clients will come in and they think they have an idea of what they want. And I find this to be really special. Like they come in and they're like, I want teal chenille, and then usually by the time we're done with the project, it's something totally different. Once they find out a little bit more about themselves and what they're looking for, and the colors in their own home, and how they use the furniture. And I always teach them about the double rub counts, and so we're going over that and the cleanability. So I usually just try to inform them as much as possible so they feel a little bit better and more confident in making those decisions.
Okay. One of the things that I always struggled with when I did retail work was directing clients to the right fabric. Do you ever have somebody come to you with, this is the fabric I must have on my sofa, and you look at it and go, yep, that's not even going to last a month? How do you handle that? Like, what do you say to them? How do you steer them?
You just kind of explain why that fabric wouldn't work. But just give them as much knowledge as possible so you kind of save yourself in the long run. Usually I'll even, when it gets to the point where it could be like more in terms of upholstery, like this fabric isn't going to work on this piece of furniture because this, and this, and not necessarily because of the durability. I think that they take that very seriously.
Okay.
Just kind of explaining why you think it won't work. I mean, most of the time, this is a huge investment for most of our clients, and they will listen to you and
Okay. Yeah, I'm always intrigued by that because I've worked with designers who have had to talk people out of upholstery fabric for draperies. So, but this has a very different impact. If you put drapery fabric on a sofa, that's a very different thing. It's not just about how it's going to look or hang. It's about how it's going to wear.
Yeah. And I will say, even like working with interior designers, I also try to communicate that, because we've run into some situations where an interior designer just wanted to put a really pretty fabric on, a kitchen banquette. And we did the upholstery work for that. And then the client, less than a year later, came and reached out to us and explained like the fabric was actually, coming apart. And that's when I looked into the fabric. I saw that the double rub count was 12,000. And so I explained to the interior designer that would be probably more suitable for, draperies or a little side chair that you're not going to use every day. But this was a family, and it was something that they were using every day. So I think just communicating that as much as possible to clients, designers, everyone that we're working with, so we're all kind of on the same page.
Yeah. What would you say is the biggest percentage of your business? Is it retail work or
it's
designers?
Really a mix. I mean, right now we have 4 different interior design projects going on in the workroom. We're also doing a lot of commercial work. So we make custom booths and seating and a whole bunch of things for these big commercial companies. We do a lot in hospitality. We do repair work. A lot of customers will come in and we'll just do a gluing job, or they want some new foam, and that's just kind of in and out, easy money. So we kind of just work with everything. We have a 2-month wait list for our normal customers. And then we also do stuff for Adam and his his clients and
Mhm.
his showroom. So it's really a mix, which makes it very exciting because the small projects obviously matter, but the big projects are really exciting because all of our stuff is we're doing something for a hotel in Seattle, and it's just really cool to be all over the world.
Yeah, yeah. And when you think about, like, as I said, the way Adam has changed how that business is interacting with
Mhm.
other businesses as well, that really is cool.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear about what some of the challenges you've had working in this business. It was not, it may not have been the career path you thought you were going to have. You started working there. It's something that you're enjoying, and you've changed jobs within that. So the potential to grow and do different things. What kind of challenges have you come up against?
Um, so I think the biggest challenge, I have two really big challenges. One would be trying to juggle all those different projects at once.
Hmm.
I mean, I feel like most of the time an interior designer is working with a few clients at the same time, but there are hundreds of clients that are coming in and out of our building a day. And just trying to balance that out so we don't have angry customers, ones that are waiting forever on our wait list.
Right.
But we also want to get the designer stuff in here. So dealing with that, and also confrontation, I think I really struggle with being so
Hmm.
young. I'm a people pleaser and I want to make everybody happy all the time, but in this industry, that's not always so realistic.
Right.
And so trying to balance that while being professional and respectful, but also still kind of sticking up for me and my team because
Right.
we take a lot of passion and pride into all of our work. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can appreciate that. And in the past, when I've interviewed someone who's either younger or there's a mother-daughter team that is not too far from me, Philip's Workroom, when Callie came into the business, everybody wanted to talk to her mom and not her. And so,
Yeah.
so same thing, that balancing of her being professional and saying, my mom has taught me everything I know,
Right.
and if you bother her, then your job's not getting done. So how about if you talk to me? And again, as you said, respectful. And I think
Yeah.
that client expectations, while it's really important that we set them, sometimes they hear what they want to hear, and it doesn't
Right.
matter what we said.
I know. Yeah, and just even still like um making things right, but also still making a profit can be really difficult. You want to make those big clients super happy, and
Right,
sometimes it's really hard to still make a profit and make everybody happy at the same time. So,
right,
uh,
right. Okay.
challenging.
So many of the people that I interview own their own businesses. So when I ask this next question, there's no one listening to it and thinking, wait, what? Have you ever thought about quitting? Adam, don't listen to this part.
I was going to say, Adam is definitely going to listen to this and he might even laugh a little bit because, yes, I mean, I'm 26. I'm constantly comparing my life to others. I thought I had this big thing going on for me after graduating college, and things have really shifted. So I kind of go back and forth. I moved back to my hometown, and for some reason, that kind of felt like a failure in itself. So this is when I'm getting into the story of. So actually, after my first year of working with the fabric, so I've been with the company for 2 years, been in this role for about a year. I found it really exciting, but my best friend actually asked me to move with her 2 hours away to a bigger city, and I thought it was going to be this way to escape and just kind of get out of my hometown.
Hmm.
And so I sat Adam down and I actually tried to put my 2 weeks in. And
Tried being the operative word.
and it was a very long, hard conversation. And I cried a lot and I thought about it a lot. And even took a couple days to think about it because obviously Adam was very supportive, but he at the same time was kind of begging for me to stay, which made me feel really good about my role and even kind of help with my self-confidence. So that's when I sat myself down and I was like, I need to take my own path and not necessarily just follow my friend. And that took a lot for me because it's been really hard to find friends around here. And it was just going to be so easy to like move with her.
Yeah.
But as I was looking through other job opportunities, I noticed I was looking for the same job that I'm doing now. A lot of the same, words were going into LinkedIn, and I was like, wow, I think that this is something I'm very passionate about. Even like outside of work, I'm constantly reading articles, following all these different social media accounts and how they, use different furniture, fabric, and I said, let's just stick it out. And he was very excited about that. Honestly, I haven't really thought about quitting since. If anything, I've been even more excited about this job and the opportunities that it's going to give for me. So,
Oh, I love that. And it's funny because as I said, usually the people I'm asking that question to own their own businesses. And it's very often a firm, no, I never think about quitting, or it's every day. and it is the passion and the sense of accomplishment and the joy that they get out of what they're doing that keeps them doing it. But they're doing it for themselves and their business. So to hear you taking that experience and walking it through, talking it through with Adam, talking it through with yourself and deciding what you wanted, it's just a really fascinating example of how sometimes we look around, like you said, comparing ourselves to other people and thinking, a lot of people in this business who own their own business say, I really would not make a good employee. I'm one of those people. And so the opportunity to go and talk to somebody else about working with them, like, no, I'm better off working by myself. But I love that was something you could sit down with Adam and talk with him about it. And as you said, he was still supportive, but thrilled.
Yeah, it felt really good to just have also a boss that genuinely cares that much about me and was willing to let me go and find new opportunities. But then also just made me feel really good about myself and allowed me to kind of think about if I wanted to quit this job.
Right. And entertain it and think it through. I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about having gone through this with him and discussing about where you want to be. What is your definition of success?
So I think obviously a few years ago, I would have defined success a lot differently. I thought I'd be somewhere totally different by now, but reality is that I'm changing and my frontal lobe is fully developed as well. And that success doesn't really have to be defined by this huge goal. These days, I think I define success as being proud of how I handled myself today. It's the little wins like solving a problem or putting myself out there and calling an interior designer to collaborate or going to a fabric event and not knowing anyone. Those might feel really small to other people, but for me, they're huge.
Yes.
So I take a lot of pride in that. And I would define success as that.
I love that. And I love that you can see the difference between what it might mean to somebody else, but that you can say for yourself, that was a big win. I'm proud of myself for that.
Exactly.
I think most of us don't do enough of that. And my older daughter is a social worker and a therapist. And there sometimes when we're having a conversation, she'll like congratulate me on something. I'm like, that never crossed my mind to be something to be proud of, but thank you. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I think John, he is our main upholsterer, our foreman. He's very supportive in everything that I do, and he's always giving me a high five. Even like I'll have him sometimes when I have to make a difficult conversation with someone, call a client. He will come up there and just be like my moral support. And he won't say anything, but just having him there makes me feel better about the situation usually. So
What a great working environment. That is awesome.
I
That's awesome. The sponsors of the So Much More podcast allow me to bring guests to you each week. And without them, I couldn't do it. I'm pleased as the owner of the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library that I can use the library to help sponsor the podcast as well. The library hosts the industry's largest curated collection of educational resources for the custom home furnishings professional. Membership to the library gives you access to a wealth of downloadable reference materials, videos, live events, as well as a community of support to help you develop your design, sales, and fabrication skills, and to grow or start a business. Join the library today at csfrl.org. The Workroom channel is the premier online training provider for professional fabrication skills. Go to theworkroomchannel.com to browse the selection of anytime access courses created by industry experts. Watch detailed demonstration videos, download companion materials, and participate in private course discussion boards with your instructor and classmates from around the world. Start your course path today at theworkroomchannel.com. Education, networking, visibility, and industry discounts are just a few of the benefits that are offered to members of the Window Covering Association of America. The WCAA is the only national nonprofit trade association that's dedicated to the window coverings industry and the dealers, decorators, workrooms, designers, and installers that make up our membership. The library is a gold level sponsor of the WCAA. Join today at WCAA.org. WCAA, where you are never in business alone. Discover Klimaka Studios, where innovation meets exceptional design. Klimaka fabric and wallpaper collections are inspired by the original works of collaborating artists and developed with the understanding of how fabrics are manipulated into exquisite soft home furnishings. Workroom businesses enjoy exclusive access to engineered designs and best trade pricing. From clever layouts to classic linen prints, Klimaka Studios delivers the quality and consistency that your business demands. And Klimaka's reliable, on-time delivery keeps your projects running smoothly. Go to klimakastudios.com for swatches and trade account information. Klimaka Studios, for the joy and profit of workrooms. So if that is your definition of success, then what would you say has been your greatest success so far?
Okay, so this kind of works with what I just said. I think my own personal growth so far. I'm doing a lot of things that I never thought I would be doing. I feel like I'm very much adulting. I'm doing payroll and figuring that out by myself and working with these big clients. So even with little things like making those phone calls and handling QuickBooks, it used to feel very overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I've really had to face those challenges head on, and it's really helped me grow up. So I feel like that has been a huge success for me alone.
We have a joke meme that's going around in my family in relation to phone calls, and it's referring to not my generation, but my kids. I'm like, sure, I can get a tattoo. Oh, please don't ask me to make a phone call.
I don't know what it is, but phone calls are terrifying.
And I honestly, I get that. I feel the same way. There are times I just sit here and my phone is sitting. I'm like, just pick it up. Just pick it up and it's over with. But sometimes it is really hard.
Yes. Another thing that I think in the future I'll be able to success or say was a success would be this class that I'm going to teach. For me, it feels huge. Adam kind of signed me up for it because he had so much confidence in me. And I've been doing a lot of research and trying to get everything figured out. So I think that will be a great win once that is.
Okay, I agree. And I do want to talk about that, but I don't want to forget to ask you this question. In light of these successes, I want to know how you handle failure and mistakes. How hard on yourself are you, Madison?
I have always been very hard on myself, and failure has always felt very heavy for me. But the older I get, the more I realize it's not really a reflection of who you are as a person, and we're constantly making mistakes. We're all human. We make a bunch of failures throughout the day, whether it was miscommunication, I ordered the wrong fabric, or I'm just having an off day. I feel like failure usually leads to some kind of solution and growth. Either I have to figure it out or learn something I didn't know before. And that's not always easy, but I try to look at those moments as opportunities to problem solve.
Okay. I love that. And the reference to your frontal lobe being fully formed. That's an ongoing joke in my family too, with my daughters. My younger daughter used to use that as an excuse frequently, but I'm not fully formed, Mom.
I know. I do feel much different at 26, I will say.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more calm and yeah, so.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about CWC and the class that you're going to be teaching.
So I will be teaching a class in September on the art of choosing the right or perfect, but nothing's ever perfect, upholstery fabric for your project. So
Okay.
I'll be going over different fiber contents and how different fabrics might work with different types of furniture, durability, functionality, hopefully some sustainable sourcing options. I would love to give out goodie bags. I remember when I took Polly Waite's class. I loved how she gave this little goodie bag of her class was on, I think, traditional materials and techniques,
Yes.
upholstery. And so during the class, as she was going over everything, you kind of got to touch and feel these things as she was talking about them. So I really wanted to incorporate some fun stuff into my class.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me, Madison, because I've only done a little bit of upholstery. I've taken a couple classes and it is not what I'm best at. So I stick to the window treatments and the other soft furnishings. But in taking the classes that I took, I don't think I realized how much I didn't know. And especially about the fabric. Just because it has a great high double rub doesn't mean it's the right fabric for that particular chair. And one of the reasons I asked the question about when a client is dead set on a particular fabric, the class that I took was a medallion chair class. And we had to supply our own chair, of course. And a very dear friend of mine had 2 medallion chairs. So she paid for me to take the class and supplied the fabric. And somebody else did her second chair as part of the class. So, it wasn't really practice. We were heading right into that and upholstering chairs. It is not upholstery fabric. It's not. Now, they're antique chairs and they're not meant to really be sat on anyway. But every time I was in her house and somebody sat on them, I just froze and thought, first I was worried the chairs were not going to hold them. And secondly, I was like, don't sit on that. That's not going to wear. Don't sit on that. And I did it probably 10 years ago. They still look wonderful because nobody sits on them.
And that's when I'll recommend maybe my pretty fabrics is what I call them, like the embroidered crewel work, things that just look super pretty, but are going to sit in a corner of the room and not really be used.
And look pretty. So that's exciting. And did Adam choose for you to submit this class?
He encouraged me. We kind of went back and forth, and then it was more like, okay, well, I signed you up. And I'm pretty thankful that he did. I think things are starting to feel really real now. I have to know my stuff. And so I'm learning so much more with fabrics while doing the research. even like some of our upholsterers has been kind of helping me out. There was a certain situation that happened where we ordered, a cotton velvet, and it said it had over 200,000 double rubs. And I talked this fabric up because I was like, oh, it must be so durable because it has all these double rubs and a thick backing. And but we didn't really take into account of like how that velvet would mark up. And it might, not tear, but it's going to mark easily because that's just kind of a characteristic of velvet.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, Adam didn't force me to do this. I think if I would have said like I really don't feel comfortable, he would have, explained that. But no, I think it's a challenge, and I love a challenge, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I'll be. I'm always excited to meet the newest teachers at CWC because it's always great to see what they're doing, what they're interested in. And I think it's been a while since anybody's done a class on the specifics of fabric. So I think it's going to be really exciting.
That. Yeah, so I went our first year, which was 2023. That was our first year as a company. I mean, Adam found CWC. No one even really knew, that there was a whole community of people doing the same thing.
Right.
So he signed us up, and we all went, and even John, who's been doing this for over 20 years, took something away from that. And we found out how important that was to stay connected with you guys, and that even though you've been doing this for a long time, like there's always something that somebody can learn within this industry. So I noticed that there wasn't a lot of fabric classes the last 2 years. So I honestly just thought it, because I mean, we're all dealing with fabric, whether you're in, window treatments, draperies, upholstery, even just fabric showroom. I think anyone could benefit from my class. So
yeah, I agree, because I think I don't do any upholstery myself at this point, unless it is for myself. But number one, I need to choose the right fabric, and number two, I am making recommendations for my designers and helping them to make choices before they send it to their upholsterer. So yeah, I think you're right. Almost anyone could benefit from it. So I haven't looked to see if we have opposing classes. I don't know if we're teaching at the same time. So I'm curious, especially doing research and being new in this industry. Are you a book reader? Are there any books that you would recommend or classes that you've taken that have impacted you?
I actually kind of brought
You are prepared. I love this.
I like to be prepared. So what's funny is I got this book from our library. We'll have these $5 fill-a-bag days once a month. And I went to the library and I filled a bunch of my bag with, this is when I first got my job, just doing the upholstery, with a bunch of like design books. This one specifically is called the Style Sourcebook. It's the Definitive Illustrated Directory of Fabrics, Paints, Wallpaper, Tiles, Flooring by Judith Miller.
Okay.
So I think it's just a great like coffee table book, or something to kind of keep in the showroom. There's a style guide, and it talks about, different styles and designs from the medieval century to the late 20th century. And then it goes into different fabrics, wallpapers, tiles, etc. But the fabrics page has been super cool because there's these really great pictures throughout. And then I'll give you like a little background info on some of the different types of fabric and patterns. And then it'll actually list where you can source these fabrics, which is pretty cool. I've just been kind of looking through this. Specifically for my class, I've been reading a bunch of articles, watching videos. Podcasts are kind of hard to come by, I think, within this industry. I found one that had to deal with fabric, but it was very broad, and it was to interior designers. So it didn't go as in-depth as I would have hoped, but yeah, I mean, social media, I think, is a huge tool for me.
Mm.
I follow all these different upholstery workrooms and fabric companies and showrooms. So I'm always kind of looking for inspiration there as well.
Okay. Okay. I love that. I will put a link to that book in the show notes. It's a pretty book too.
I
Yeah.
know, hardback and everything. And another thing, I did take this class. I'm only halfway through it. It's a 1 credit free class that Adam actually sent me. I think it's through something called Fiber Seal.
Oh, yes.
And it has been extremely helpful. It kind of just goes over the different fiber contents and synthetic versus, natural fibers and how those have been made and how they react and different things. I'm not fully finished with that because I've been taking very in-depth notes.
Mhm.
But yeah, just trying to utilize my resources in any way.
Okay. I love that. So you mentioned being kind of tech savvy. Do you use a lot of technology in your job?
I mean, I'm constantly on the computer. We use QuickBooks, which has been a learning curve. I think it's gotten a lot easier since I'm more familiar with it
Hmm.
now, making up estimates and invoices and payroll. Canva, I actually took a Canva class my first year. That was
Yeah.
super cool. And I'll use Canva for a lot of things, like even just putting like a work closed sign on the front door, any way to make that look a little bit more appealing.
Right, right.
And like, we're hiring. I've made a post for that. And I've actually been using it more of, so if add photos and then the fabrics onto just like a blank Canva page and
Right.
text and stuff, everything's kind of right there. It's a great visual for all of the guys in the back to look at the pictures, read the words, and because sometimes I will say a challenge that we kind of face is our work orders and trying to lay that out so it's easy for everyone to understand and we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
So we would like to get into something different. We were thinking something, more online to where I can add notes, through the computer or my phone, and then the upholsterer can get on their phone and add and delete stuff and see things, and it's a lot better for the environment than printing out
Right.
20 different
Right.
pages.
Agreed. It's funny, you're one of the first people who's mentioned Canva recently, and I love Canva. I've been having a great time with it. It's a great way to set up your brand
Mhm.
colors and
Yeah.
style. And like what the first couple times took me forever to get something done. But then once you start to use it, it really has a lot of possibilities.
Yes, and I think it's very user friendly. I mean, there's templates that you can just use right off the bat and then change the way that you would like it to be. So
Mhm.
I think Canva is a great tool that anyone can use. Another thing that we've also been kind of using, so we've realized that Instagram Reels bring in a lot of views and
Okay.
attention to our work, and people like to see the story behind the furniture. They want
Mhm.
to see the bones of, your grandma's chair. So, capturing that through video has been fun and very informative, and our clients are loving them. So, I've been using this thing called CapCut.
Mhm.
It's an app, I think, like through TikTok basically, but there's a lot of fun tools on there and you can make really great quality videos. And I think that's a great way to get people to watch your stuff and learn
Mhm.
something.
Yeah. Yeah, I love you do a lot of like before and afters, but there's still some education in there in a lot of
Oh,
your
yeah.
reels.
Yeah.
I will definitely put a link to the Ohio Workroom Instagram account.
Thank you.
Is there a Main Street Modern account as
There
well?
is. Yep. It's
Okay.
just Main Street Modern.
Okay. I'll put links to both of those. All right.
Awesome.
So you mentioned how important some of those tools are. Would they be the three business items you can't live without, or do you have three other business items you can't live without?
I told John this morning. I think personally my 3 business items would be all 3 of my calendars. So I have my desk calendar
Mhm.
that everyone can kind of come and look at if somebody's not going to be there that day, or John's not really on because we have our iPhone calendar app. That's kind of how we do deliveries and schedule things through both businesses, but everyone can kind of see the desk calendar, write things on there if they're leaving early, that kind of thing. I think that's really important. I think scheduling on our phones is really important. That way, when Adam's, in another state, he can see that we're delivering a dental chair today. And then my weekly planner, I like checklist, and I like to write things down that I need to get done either that day or that week. So I think I live by that. I'm very not necessarily organized, but structured.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. So
3
do
things.
you have any so when I switched from a paper calendar to a digital calendar, I had to be all in because I
Oh,
would
yeah.
write things down on the paper calendar and then they'd never move to the digital calendar, and then I'd not be where I needed to be. Do you struggle with that? I mean, I agree that if everybody's not using digital, that paper calendar is a place where everybody can see it. But do you struggle to get everything covered?
Not really.
Okay. All right. I love that.
I love jotting things down. I usually have sticky notes all over my desk.
Okay.
There's just a million things that I have to remind myself to do throughout the day. So I am constantly just jotting things down, and I don't really find it to be super time consuming.
Okay.
So no, I don't really think.
Okay. That's awesome. Madison, do you create anything for yourself? You said you had some upholstery skills, you were doing some of that, and your job has evolved quite a bit. Do you get to create anything, or is there anything creative aside from the upholstery industry that you're doing that you love?
I would like to say I'm a very creative individual. I
Mhm.
love all aspects of art, whether it be my outfit for the day, or a knickknack that I got from Goodwill that's gonna look so good on my mantle, or but I also love to do things with my hands. I'm really into Legos, and I've moved on from Legos, and now I'm kind of getting into miniatures because I find them to be more challenging.
Okay.
um, uh, and I also really like to make vision boards for myself. I'll cut my head out and put it on a girl that's doing something that eventually I would love to see myself
Oh,
doing.
that's a great idea. I never thought about that.
What's funny is I actually, after I graduated college, I made a vision board, and on the vision board, it said, I would like to upholster a chair. And that was on my vision board, and it literally happened. So,
Oh, I love that.
yeah, I like just putting things together. And that's kind of moved into my mood boards at work. I love making mood boards as great visuals for some of our clients that have
Yeah.
no idea where to start or how certain fabrics are going to look together. So I like doing those mood boards to kind of help the client, but also allow some creative freedom within my life. So
Okay. I love that. So, what is your favorite thing to do at work?
mm, I I think my favorite thing would be to show clients the fabrics. I think a lot of my day is administrative work, answering important emails and phone calls and ordering fabric, scheduling things. But I think my favorite part would be getting that interaction with most of our clients. It's been surprising, like, how many people even live in Canton. So I think showing them the fun fabrics that we have, getting to talk about who we are as a business and how long we've been around, and getting to make their, dreams really come to life, with some of the pieces being so sentimental to them. That is a huge win for me.
Okay.
when a customer, you know, cries over something that means so much to them. That's what makes this so great.
All right. I love that. Yeah, I feel like for a lot of us, that end result is really an important part. When I hear about workrooms who don't, like window treatment workrooms who just ship out the product, or the designer comes and picks it up and they never get to see the end result, like that part, that's hard for me. I want to see the client's face. I want to see
Oh,
them
yeah.
walk in the room and go, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I wanted. I love that part.
I think also that was my favorite part when I used to do the deliveries,
Mhm.
and you got to see the client's home.
Yeah.
It just kind of starts to make sense.
Yes.
That
Yes.
was my favorite part.
There were a lot of times when my girls were still living at home, they would come down into my workroom and they'd be like, oh, that's not very pretty. I'm like, yes, but it's going to look beautiful in the scope of the room. I promise you.
Yeah, we're actually working with this purple and teal sparkly vinyl sofa. And I'm not going to lie, when the guys first rolled out the vinyl, they did not have very high expectations. But I was like, just wait, because this client is in a band and I know what her basement looks like, and
Mhm.
it's going to look so good. And so after we were done with that, they trusted me a little bit more.
Okay, good. Madison, what do you do extremely well?
I think I keep the workroom pretty structured. I always work as if that there's a deadline, which most of the time there is deadlines every day that we need to get done. So keeping those deadlines in mind and just getting my goals done for the day, I think I do pretty well. I feel like I also kind of keep good energy in the shop because I'm young and I don't know, I have a lot of ambition and this really excites me. So I think keeping good energy, um, yeah.
Yeah, those are good. What do you not do so well?
This is a good one. So, not what do I don't do so well? I struggle with managing how I react sometimes when I get really overstimulated. Uh, a lot of clients have even come in and they've specifically asked me how I work in this environment because it is a very small workshop and we have things kind of everywhere, and that can get a little overstimulating when the guys are all asking me for something at once. I feel like I unintentionally just kind of throw that frustration onto others, and that's been something I've been trying to work on. Taking a step back, I've been taking my lunch, and even taking my lunch outside now that the weather's getting better, and venting to my mom a little bit, trying to get, someone else's perspective on certain things. So, yeah, just trying to manage my feelings.
Yeah, I think that's an important one. And I had not heard the word overstimulated until a few years ago. And there's so many times when I think, yeah, I get that now. That word is appropriate.
Yes, I get very overstimulated in certain situations, even with like trying to answer the phone while the guys are stapling in the back and listening to rock music.
Yeah.
But that's something I'm excited about for this new building. We'll be on 2 different levels, and
Okay.
I will be in a clean, open, huge, actually, showroom. So, and there will actually be places for clients to come and sit down and also feel relaxed.
Okay.
And some of our, clients will come in and they'll just want to take a couple books home with them because there's another
It's too
customer in
much.
here.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just always so much going on. So I'm hoping that the new building will add some peace to all of our
Okay.
lives.
When do you move into the new building?
We are really striving for the end of this year, hopefully like
Okay.
end of summer.
Okay.
We're making some final decisions, and I think the workroom is going to get in there first. And then eventually we are going to build out the showroom.
Okay.
So we've been going through a lot of different local showrooms and trying to get some inspiration
Mm-hmm.
on how we kind of want to go with that.
I love that. Oh, I can't wait to see pictures. What about you would surprise people?
Ooh. I think that I'm shy. I do deal with a lot of social anxiety. I'm pretty shy, but if I feel very comfortable in what I'm saying or the person that I'm talking to, I can kind of get out of that comfort zone. And I think that that'll surprise people because I can be very loud and funny and but also very shy and quiet. So I think once I show the side of me that's not shy, that's a little surprising for some people.
Okay, I love that. So I'm curious about how I talk with the business owners in our industry about resiliency. And I think that none of us could be where we are if we weren't resilient. So I'm curious how you think you are resilient.
Okay, so I think that I've been pretty resilient throughout my life. I am very neurodivergent, and so I process things differently. I think and learn differently. A lot of the times, especially in school, it took me a lot longer to do things. So trying to feel like I was normal.
Yeah.
My whole life, but I think the older I get, the more I've learned that it's okay to ask for help, and that everyone needs a little bit of help.
Yeah.
So,
And it amazes me, Madison, when I first started this podcast and I interviewed a couple of people, I thought, oh, we're all going to be the same and I won't have that many podcasts. And then I found out how different everyone was.
yeah,
And I made assumptions about things, including that because we were all creative. And by the way, we're not. Some of us are really skilled and it's not a creative process for us. But I started to understand how differently we all learned and thought. And I have a very, very dear friend who's a really logical thinker. And sometimes she and I will be having a conversation and she just stops and she said, I would love to understand your brain a little bit better. And like you're saying, you come to a point where like, well, this is who I am. And
yeah,
I'm a lot older than you. And it's still taking me some time to say, this is who I am. And I have to work with
you're
what
right.
I've got.
Yeah,
And again, my children have taught me that too, that I've watched them adjust how they do things and what they need in order to process. And I've joked a lot with people like, when I'm done processing, I'll get back to you. I don't think on the fly really well. And I'll go back and like later I'm like, darn it, I should have asked this. Darn it, I should have said this.
that's why I have these
Yep.
today. Just
But I think I think it's more common for people to identify that way now. And so we're learning more about it and understanding, oh, that's why they didn't answer me right away. They needed a minute to think about it. And the asking for help too, I think is really important. Making mistakes for me has always been, it's why I asked the question, like for me, making a mistake in front of other people is just terrifying. And nothing bad has ever happened when I made a mistake in front of somebody. But the asking for help is, I have learned so much from putting myself into that, like as you said, that uncomfortable area and learning from somebody else. But yet each time it comes up, it's still hard to do. I don't know why.
I know.
So I'm curious, Madison, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I think I definitely see myself still working with this company.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's so much room to grow, especially because we are, moving into this new building. I think I will step up even a little bit more and hopefully take on more designer roles and step away from more like office administrator. We definitely want to hire some more people and expand. And I think I'll be working here and taking it day by day.
Hey, I like that. So I know that Ohio Workroom and Main Street Modern have Instagram accounts. I'll put the link to them. Are they on Facebook or not?
We are both on Facebook as well. Everything
Okay.
that we post on Instagram, we also post on
Okay.
Facebook.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll put the links to both of them. So I could keep talking to you all morning, but I know we both have work to do. My final question is, what advice would you have for someone coming into this business or someone who's been here for a while? I like how prepared you are.
I did think about this one last night. And I would say do not get discouraged if, one path doesn't feel like the right fit right away. I mean, I started with upholstery and now I'm moving into different things. There's so many different routes you can take in this industry, whether it's sewing, upholstery, even just handling deliveries. It's an industry that touches so many different skills and roles. Just because one part of it doesn't click for you doesn't mean that something else won't click for you as well. So just stay open, and I think that there's a place for everyone here.
I love that. Madison, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. It was really good to get to know you better.
Thank you, Seal. I enjoyed talking to you today, and I'll be excited to see you at the conference.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks.
Yep, have a good day.
I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Madison today. It was so refreshing to talk with someone who is so excited and passionate about what she's doing. But I also love how she explored whether or not this was what she wanted to continue doing. If you have listened to the podcast that I did with Adam, it's not a surprise that he was so supportive and was willing to talk with Madison about what her decision was about leaving or not leaving. It's also not a surprise that he convinced her to stay. I'm really glad that she did, and I really enjoyed talking with her today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.